It's hot again. We're living through one of the hottest summers on record. Heatwave is following heatwave. Records are being broken. There are wildfires. Schools have been sending children home. Public transport's no fun. And if you're sleeping well through this, you're doing better than me. It's shaping up to be one of the hottest summers on record in the UK. This summer is a long way out of the ordinary, and it's posing a lot of questions. Not least, what's causing these heat waves? Can we expect more of them? And are we ready for that? Can our homes, offices, schools, hospitals, transport cope with heat like this? We're going to get into all of this. Along the way, we'll see children being taught in World War II tunnels because their classrooms are too hot. It's lovely and cool down there in the tunnels, but same definitely can't be said of conditions here in the playground. We'll learn how temperatures are measured. We'll get a briefing on all the jargon being used. We'll hear some of the skepticism about what's happening. And an expert in climate modelling will look into the future for us.
I never thought we'd see 40 degrees in a forecast, let alone playing out in the UK.
I should mention I'm in Wisley, in Surrey. Earlier this summer, it recorded 36 degrees Celsius, the highest temperature ever recorded here in June. But before I go any further, there are a couple of things I need to be clear on. First, this is the average global temperature. It's going up. The data on this is conclusive. Second, humans are causing this. Here is carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere over thousands of years, and then in recent decades. As the UN's leading climate body puts it, human activities, principally through emissions of greenhouse gases, have unequivocally caused global warming. And the Met Office says that is leading to more frequent and more intense summer heat waves. So that's clear, but I want to better understand some of the features of heat waves and some of the language that we're using around them. I'm going to get help throughout this video. First up is Ben Rich from BBC Weather. Right, Ben, first things first, we're all talking about heat waves, but I would quite like a definition of one.
So a heat wave here in the UK is 3 days in a row of temperatures above a threshold, which varies depending on where in the UK you are. So 25 degrees across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Western England, Wales, to 28 degrees in London and the home counties.
What's a heat spike? We're hearing a lot about them.
Yeah, so a heat spike is where the temperature climbs very, very quickly over just 1 or 2 days. So maybe just in a couple of days, the temperatures might climb by 5 to 10 degrees. We can find ourselves in periods of hot weather very, very quickly.
But are heat spikes more common now than they would have been 100 years ago?
There are some factors that do seem to be making them more likely. When we see prolonged dry spells, which are becoming more common with climate change, well, dry ground, so what we've got at the moment, you can see here, the grass around us just looks yellow, very, very bad condition. When the ground is wet, some of the sun's energy goes into evaporating the moisture. But when the ground is dry like this, then the sun's energy is all able to go into heating up the ground and heating up the air, giving us those higher temperatures, those heat spikes.
The next thing I want to ask you about are heat domes.
So a heat dome is one of the main ways in which a heat wave can develop. And a heat dome is essentially just a big area of high pressure plonked on top of the same area. It sits there for a long period of time. The air underneath that area of high pressure descends, it compresses as it reaches the ground. That causes it to warm and dry out. And so as that process continues day after day, the temperatures are just able to climb. There is some evidence that climate change in Europe anyway is making these heat domes happen more frequently.
Okay, so we've looked at the key features of heat waves and we've seen how they connect to climate change. And all of this puts us into new territory, as the numbers from this year are showing us. Already, 2026 has given us 5 heat waves for some of the UK, overnight temperatures at record levels, and for the first time on record, temperatures of 35 degrees or higher in May, June, July, and August. Now, lest there's any doubt, none of this is normal. Not that everyone accepts that, and even some of those who do are saying, well, what's the fuss about? We've gone through thousands of comments under BBC News articles, and it's not hard to find some who are sceptical about the heat waves. First, there's this. One person writes, yes, it's hot, that's because it's summer. There are plenty of comments like this. There are lots of references to 1976 as well. Now, I was around, though I was a bit young to remember 1976, but I've heard plenty about it. It had one of the hottest and driest summers Britain had experienced. There were weeks of intense heat, water shortages, and severe drought. It's the benchmark of hot summers for those of us of a certain age. But just because 1976 happened doesn't mean that this year is just another hot summer. The temperatures this year are particularly high and frequent, and they're part of a broader pattern. Globally, the last 11 years have been the 11 warmest on record. What's happening now is not the same as 1976. Here's our next comment, which reads, "It's called weather. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold." Another reads, "It's a warm day. Calm down." I'm definitely calm, but this weather is a cause for concern. More than 2,700 people may have died from heat-related causes in England and Wales in May and June. In Europe, the June heat wave has been linked to over 14,000 excess deaths. A&E demand hit a record high in July. The NHS describes unprecedented pressure this summer, with the heat contributing to an increase in admissions. And red heat health alerts, such as the one in June, indicate a risk to life for even the healthy population. This heat can be dangerous. In some cases, it can lead to dehydration. In others, it can apply extra pressure to the heart and lungs. In more severe cases, it can lead to heat stroke. For some, this isn't just a sunny day. Something else that sometimes gets questioned is how temperatures are measured, how reliable all of the data is. Here in Wisley, there's this Met Office weather station, and as I've been hearing, there are a lot of rules as to how these types of weather stations are set up. Mark Gush has the details. Thanks for having me, Mark. Just show us around what we've got here at the weather station.
This is where we measure temperature and humidity. And if you look inside, you'll see the temperature sensors on that side and the relative humidity sensor on that side. Very important that they're always housed within this Stevenson screen. It's literally this wooden box mounted at a particular height, always painted white to be reflective, an angled sun shield on the top. And it's got these vents, these louver vents that allow sufficient movement of air into the Stevenson screen, but doesn't interfere in terms of wind or direct sunlight.
Who checks you're doing this right? Because some people have asked questions during these heat waves this summer about whether we can properly compare what you're doing here with other stations around the country.
The Met Office regularly conduct calibration checks on all the equipment. That ensures a consistency of measurement back through the time of weather station monitoring.
So, temperature sensor inside a white slatted box called a Stevenson screen, 1.25 meters off the ground, slanted roof, door facing north, so the instruments aren't in the sun. If the first thing I wanted to do was to better understand these heat waves, how we define them, how we measure them, well, the second part of the equation is how prepared we are to deal with this heat. As you're no doubt well aware, homes in the UK don't have